Cafecito break. Cafecito. Cafecito break. Cafecito. 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 Cafecito break. It's my birthday. Cafecito. Cafecito break. What a special day it is. Hello, welcome, mi gente. Welcome to Cafecito Break. I'm one of the Perez sisters, Ra. Guess what, mi gente? March is where the Perez sisters celebrate their birthdays. Happy belated birthday, Alex. Happy birthday, Cafecito Break. Happy birthday, Ra. If you want to donate to our Boots on the Ground efforts, visit Cafecito Break, our Substack, Cash App us. Our Cash App is $Live Your Music, and living our music is what we do best. And what do we mean by live your music? Which is what our Cash App is to remind you, mi gente, that each and every one of us are a little instrument. And right now in this moment may not be perfect. We know that if, depending on where you find yourself, I find myself in New York City, in Brooklyn. And every single day I have to go through a wellness check-in with myself so that I don't have all these tantrums and meltdowns when I look and start catching up with the day's news, with the way our local elected officials are making changes, with the way the policies that are being enacted by council members are happening right underneath our noses. And there's this huge debate on whether or not it even makes sense to vote. We hosted a Twitter space last night on our channel, Cafecito Break, with John Matlin of We the People Are the News and Cozy of Cozy's Wellness. These are people who are freedom fighters, boots on the ground, and they have a wealth of knowledge to bring to the table. So here we are in just a few moments, mi gente. We are about to learn who RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has chosen for his VP. I'm very interested, a little nervous. I have my guesses from like super wild guesses. Should I share what my super wild guess is? I know I'm going to be wrong, but this morning I was just having this little thing, like, imagine he says that it's Julian Assange. I don't know why I even would think that, but please don't crucify me, community members. In the wildness of the wildness out there, there's so many strange things happening. Another person I was contemplating was, could it be Vivek? And I even wondered if it could be somebody like Candace Owens. Now, check this out. These are people that were not ever mentioned in the hints to VP nods. Let's come down to earth. And which VP excites Ra would be attorney Trisha Lindsay, who's a civil rights attorney based here in New York. She's a tough mama. She's running for Senate. So if you want to fund her campaign, if you want to support her campaign, visit Trisha for Senate. New York needs her. The government needs this woman. So if that would be the VP nod for RFK Jr., I wouldn't be upset at all. Rand Paul is also a choice that we are excited about. And then there have been some names that have been thrown out there, I believe the New York Post covered one that some of us were like, whoa, who is this person that they're name dropping here? So community members, who do you think is going to be his VP? We will be finding out shortly. In the meantime, grab your cafecito. I've got mine. And let's start the show. Cafecito Break starts right now.
Take a moment to subscribe to Cafecito Break, to tell your familia que nosotros estamos aquí presentes.
Yeah. You're lying. Lie, lie. I didn't want to hear what you had to say. You're lying. That is a lie, lie. We just call that la la. Lie, lie, lie.
All right, mi gente. Welcome back to Cafecito Break. It is about 5 minutes until we go live. If you don't want to hang out with Ra, it's okay. You can visit Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s page directly on YouTube. And let's pray that the YouTube algorithm doesn't mess with his channel or ours. We've had moments, community members, where they've messed with our channel, where we've wanted to, or we've hosted live streams, and here I thought I was doing a great job of service for community. All of a sudden they would strip the audio, and we are in election season. I'm hearing many reports of my fellow content creators and people who have been posting content that raises awareness of, you know, the culture, where it's going, and also politics. Censorship. While we wait, mi gente, I'm going to play another video, and I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to Cafecito Break. If you can fulfill my birthday wish today, is that I would love for you guys to subscribe to our platforms. It does feel disheartening to keep losing channels time and time again. We've lost over 10 channels in our career, and we were censored before 2020 even started. Why? Because, you know, when you look back into the history of the things that we've covered, I am a member of the media. That is my cross. I crossed over from corporate media to indie media, and I used to be the woman who would write television show productions for MTV Networks, VH1, Black Entertainment Television, and I did work on some shows with some of the people that find themselves in the news in the last 24 hours, for example. So can you imagine what people like me who have been close to the vibe of what it is to be in these circles, you know, that this just a vibe that you pick up. You're able to just sense things in a different way. And we, my sister and I, we have made we've made it our life effort to build relationships. And this is the core way of how we support our communities, or how we've been supporting our communities here, specifically in New York City, specifically in Brooklyn. Shout out to the Bronx, because the Bronx always has much love for the Perez sisters. In just a few moments, we're gonna hopefully find out the announcement here. So let's just play a reminder as to the importance of our American rights.
The 5 rights we enjoy as Americans under the First Amendment. Your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, right to petition the government, freedom of press, freedom of speech. Every single one's been attacked. Government was telling people they couldn't go to church just a few years ago. Your right to assemble, your right to petition the government. The Democrats kept the Capitol closed. As a citizen, couldn't come to your Capitol that you pay for to address your member of Congress, to redress your grievances, because Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let you in. Freedom of the press, I just told you what the head of the Intel Committee tried to do to a journalist. The most important right we have, though, is your right to talk. Because if you can't talk, you can't practice your faith, you can't share your faith, you can't petition your government. The right to speak is the most important, and that's what they're going after. And that's why we've had dozens of whistleblowers come talk to us. We want to focus on that because we want it all to stop. We want the double standard to stop. This idea that if you're a pro-life activist, you're going to get your door kicked in, you're going to get arrested and handcuffed in front of your 7 kids and your spouse. Americans are sick and tired of it. And we want to respect the First Amendment to the Constitution that the greatest country in the world has. That's what this committee is all about.
That's right. That's right. We're like a minute away. Let me go visit the website. Okay. It's getting close. I'd love to know who you guys think it's going to be. Oh my God. Somebody in the comments, I'm going to tell you what some of the people say. Okay, it's not lost on me. I'm not the only one that threw out Candace's name. Some people said Candace Owens, Rogan, The Rock, Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, geez. Somebody threw, oh no. Some people are really going out there. Somebody said Taylor Swift. Ay, 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 ay. Yep. Okay. So some people are saying either Rand Paul or Tulsi Gabbard, Kennedy Gabbard. I don't think it's going to be Tulsi. Specifically, if memory serves me correctly, I feel like I heard it the other day saying that she would be excited if Trump asked her to be a VP. So it makes me feel like she would kind of go Team Trump. Nothing wrong with that. It's okay. It's okay. Even though I don't know if that would work, but stranger things have happened. All right, I'm just going to refresh this page here to make sure.
Thank you.
All right. Had a feeling. Let's do it, mi gente.
Sorry, I'm not that tall. Horshe Tuhi, Kanakrakat, Charlene Nijme, Wetresh Muwekma Walwulum, San Francisco Bay Area Tak. Hello, my name is Charlene Nijme, and I am the chairwoman of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco and Oakland Bay Area. Today, as we come together for Robert F. Kennedy's announcement of his presidential running mate, we are gathered on the ethno-historic tribal territory of the East Bay, Karkin, Huchun, Halgin, Irgin, Ohlone-speaking tribal groups of the Alameda and Contra Costa counties, whom were intermarried with the Yalamu, Aramai, San Francisco Costanoan Ohlone-speaking groups of the San Francisco Peninsula. These are the direct ancestors of the lineages enrolled in the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. This Greater Bay Region's Aboriginal territory includes the unceded, unsurrendered lands of the ancestors of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, who are the successors of the historic, sovereign, federally recognized, and never terminated Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great historic significance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, and our people are still here today. Where we stand right here in the city of Oakland is part of our 10,000-year historical homeland. Yet the Muwekma Ohlone tribe is still not federally recognized as an official tribe today, despite its existence in fact. This wrong must be made right, and we know a leader like Mr. Kennedy will take up our cause. It is time we stop the continued political erasure of the forgotten tribes of California and others across the country. There are 80,000 members of unrecognized tribes in California and hundreds of thousands more across the United States in places like North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia, Virginia, Louisiana, Minnesota, Oregon, Washington, Alabama, and Tennessee, who all continue to suffer from the oppression of the corrupt system that favors special interest money over social, racial, and historical justice. Our people are suffering. We need leaders with ethical and moral courage that Robert Kennedy Jr. has. In order to stand up for what is just and what is right, Robert Kennedy Jr. has protected the rights of Indigenous people for over 40 years, and we believe in him to build on that legacy. We believe that he can and will help bring prosperity to Indian country and restore the trust between the First Americans and the United States government. That's why I am proud to announce that the Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Council has passed a unanimous resolution to endorse Robert F. Kennedy for the President of the United States. We know that this is a pivotal moment in our history and for this country, and that Robert Kennedy Jr. is that person to lead us into a brighter future. Change won't magically come to our people. It must be fought for, pushed for, and sometimes even bled for. Bobby Kennedy's father fought for us. His uncle fought for us, and they both bled for us while reaching for justice on so many fronts, and justice was nearly within their grasp. Mr. Kennedy, my people are praying for you. We're praying that you will continue to have the courage to speak the truths that bring justice to all peoples. And in this moment of pronounced political polarization, we pray for your safety and protection. I ask all my Indigenous brothers and sisters this election year, don't sit this one out. Fight for your freedom, fight for your justice, and fight for Bobby Kennedy, the way that he has always fought for us. Gish Horshe Kinan, my heart, my breath, and my spirit are with you all. Thank you so much.
That was a good speech. I enjoyed it.
Hoshetruhi, Ganakraka, Joey, Ganahini, Dolores Sanchez, Julia Lopez, Geraldine Lopez. My name is Joey Iolopishli, a member of the Muwekma Ohlone. I come from the descendants of Julia Lopez, Dolores Sanchez, and Geraldine Lopez. In the physical and in the spiritual, we understand that protection is must. Our children, we protect them. Our mothers, as we're born, protect our children. I'm here to sing a song so we can put that protection on our relatives and all, and to help this fight for justice. These songs were borrowed and taught to me by allies of our Miwok, Nisenan people, Razzle Dazzle, and Zaya. Blessings. Hosher Chuhi. Udobo hepedi hani ayo hedi ayo ayo udobo hepedi hedi ayo udobo hepedi hedi ayo hedi ayo ayo California, Northern California, can I hear a oh? Oh! Hear it louder, we need to raise the ancestors. Can I hear a oh? Oh, sure, Chewy. You have a good day. Today is a beautiful day.
I have to say a big shout out to opening up and with the indigenous people.
Hello, Oakland! How you all
Del
doing
Bigtree.
today?
Love that man.
My name is Del Bigtree. I'm the Director of Communications for the Robert Kennedy Jr. campaign for President of the United States. I just want to take a moment to say what an honor it is to work with one of the most beautiful people on this planet. One of the greatest environmental attorneys the world has ever known, fighting for people his entire career against corporate corruption, corporate toxins, polluting waters and oceans. He started the River Keepers and the Water Keepers to protect our environment. We now live in a toxic world. Over 260 toxic poisons found just in the umbilical cord of pregnant women here in the United States of America. And why are they there? Because our regulatory agencies have never done their job to protect us, but instead have been protecting the corporations from us. That is not the United States of America. That is not we, for, and by the people of America. And we've watched, over the last several years, two incumbent presidents, really, and here we are, watching trillions of dollars move to the ultra-rich while the middle class struggles to pay our bills, to go on vacation, to have that pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And now we have an opportunity. Someone that is blowing all of our minds when he talks about all of the issues of our time. So many of the cameras that are lined up here today will call and ask, what is your strategy? We know that mainstream news has been trying to black him out, but yet he's now #1 amongst independents across the United States of America, which is now the largest party in the United States of America. That's how disenfranchised we are. #1 amongst those under the age of 35 across America. And why? What was the strategy? I'm going to lay it on you right now. It was actually very simple. We're going to let him speak his mind. He's going to speak in long-form podcasts and interviews, giving the full concept of where his ideas are coming from. He's not stuck on bumper sticker politics, short lines written by other people. I can tell you personally that everything he's saying comes from his heart, his education, his historical knowledge, which we're all watching happen in all of these interviews he's been doing. And so if you haven't been watching Robert Kennedy Jr. at Kennedy24.com, or if your family members don't know who he is yet, have them go to his YouTube channel, or Twitter, or Facebook, or TikTok, where he is changing the world as we know it. We in America are so tired of the duality, of the fighting between two parties, when we know we've got such important issues now. AI technologies, facial recognition softwares, our cell phones can track everywhere we're going, and they tried to use that against us during the COVID pandemic. They wiped out our freedom of speech, censored Robert Kennedy Jr., and he brought a case against our nation because of it. We watched doctors and scientists silenced at the critical moment they should have been using social media for what it was, to share ideas and thoughts and experiences from the front line of that experience. And instead, we silenced them, shut them down, and stuck with the regulatory agency experts that told us that standing 6 feet apart from each other, locking down our businesses, keeping our children out of schools was how we're going to handle this. Only to find out now, in front of the Congress, when Tony Fauci says, yeah, that social distancing thing, that's 6 feet apart, that just kind of popped up and had no basis in science. The same man that said to us, when you challenge me, you challenge the science. Never before have we seen science owned, science stuck in its path, science so incapable of going through the scientific method of letting every scientist speak out, everyone challenge the process until we come up with the real answers. That regulatory capture of our regulatory agencies, that corporate corruption that owns our government will only stop in the hands of one man, Robert Kennedy Jr. So tell your friends, tell your families, if we're actually going to handle the issues of our time, if we're going to get out of these wars that are taking trillions of dollars from us, destroying our economy for wars that never end, if we're going to stop that, we need someone bold, someone beautiful, someone that has stood up for us from the beginning. That's Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm so honored to have you all here in Oakland. This is the next step in what's been just an incredible, miraculous journey. Robert Kennedy Jr. will be on the ballot in all 50 states, and every single one of these news agencies, every one of these news agencies that keeps doing pieces about Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Donald Trump, it's so close, who's going to take it? No one talking about the elephant in the room. The guy that's polling between 24 to 26% in the battleground states, with still much of the nation saying, I didn't even know he's running yet. My news agencies are lying to me. Well, guess what? That's all about to change. Mark my words. We're going to be on the ballot. That's going to happen shortly. And every news agency that lied to their audience and said this is a two-person race, they're going to have to change their tune. And they're going to have to start talking to Robert Kennedy Jr. And let me just tell you, the last part of our strategy is simple. What we've recognized in the polls, what we've recognized as Robert Kennedy Jr. has traveled across America is really simple. Once you've heard Robert Kennedy Jr., you can't unhear Robert Kennedy Jr. Are you ready for a miracle to happen? Are you ready for another voice in this political system? Are you tired of the two-party stranglehold on truth and freedom and liberty? Get ready, because we're going to announce today the question that everyone in media has been asking. And it sounds a little bit like this.
The suspense.
Well, it looks like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is just about ready to make headlines with his running mate choice. He is ready to announce who his VP will be, and according to reporting, it's not any of the usual suspects.
Both Democrats and Republicans growing anxious over the third-party threat as RFK is set to formally announce his vice presidential running mate.
RFK Jr. hoping for a big boost this week as well when he announces his VP pick.
Our independent presidential candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., expected to announce his running mate this week.
We are expected to get an RFK Jr. vice presidential announcement.
Well, number one, RFK Jr., the former Democrat turned independent last year. He wanted to run for president of the United States as an independent. And on the ballot in a good number of states, you've got to make an announcement about who your running mate is going to be.
Independent candidate for president Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he plans to announce his vice presidential running mate here in Oakland on March 26th.
Are these names just getting people's attention, or is one of them a real possibility, Marianne?
Uh-oh, what's the sound? I do not know. I hope that it's a technical difficulty. Refreshing.
Have a story to tell, and I think it's one that a lot of you will relate to. 2015 was an extremely challenging year in my house. I was experiencing a wide range of symptoms, including rashes and neuropathy and some eye issues. At the same time, my son had crippling migraines and ADHD. My daughter had digestive issues that were making her so miserable. All of us were on various medications, none of which were particularly helpful, and actually in my case made things considerably worse. So, like most moms, and I know many of you are here today, I decided to start digging through the research and figuring out what is making our family so sick. So I read an entire library of functional medicine books, and I ran some tests and found that we had severely imbalanced microbiomes, and our nutrient levels were extremely low, even though we were eating all this food. So I wondered, what on earth has changed so much in our food system that my kids and I can no longer tolerate gluten, nor have the fundamental nutrients that our cells need to function on a basic biological level? How could that possibly be? We were feeling better off the gluten, but this just didn't make sense. It's not just my family that's struggling with these issues. The United States spends over $4 trillion on healthcare. Most of that goes towards chronic disease. Today, 6 in 10 adults have a chronic disease, 4 out of 10 have 2 or more. 9% of men and 11% of women of childbearing years are infertile. That should be very scary. The statistics are also incredibly dim for children. 1 in 10 has ADHD, 1 in 6 has asthma, 1 in 3 has a food intolerance, 1 in 5 has eczema, 1 in 20 has seizures, and 1 in 22 in the state of California has autism. That should be horrific. That number in 1970 was 1 in 10,000, by the way. What the government, media, and universities won't discuss is that our food supply is literally covered in carcinogenic, endocrine-disrupting, microbiome-destroying pesticides. Our farmlands have become a dumping ground for toxic chemicals that our regulators either refuse to test, or they do test and then they lie about what they found. The pharmaceutical giant Bayer purchased the agricultural chemical company Monsanto in 2018. Yeah. And so now a pharmaceutical company effectively owns our food supply. So I have to ask you, what incentive does Bayer possibly have to keep our population healthy? This is the same old story of the prioritization of corporate profits and bureaucratic power over our basic right to human health. It's enabled by full regulatory capture of our food and farming system, and it must stop immediately, and Bobby Kennedy is the only person who can do it. Yeah. Our farm bill has historically supported monocrop chemical mega farming. We absolutely urgently need to pass a farm bill supporting family farmers, regenerative agriculture practices, and nutrient-dense crops beyond the clutches of the Roundup-ready GMOs that are making us all sick. We will not decrease the $4 trillion health bill until we regenerate the soil on our farms, cut the ties between regulators and corporations, and discontinue our toxic chemical dependency on both the farm and the pharmacy. Kennedy's promise to unravel corporate capture will help end this chronic disease epidemic. We finally have a leader who shares my vision for the future. Bobby Kennedy is the only candidate who will make this life-saving transformation of our food and farming system a reality. Tell corporations, by the way, your reign over regulators is over. And deliver the basic right to health back to the hands of the United States citizens. Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy, Bill created all this. Bill Scott.
Welcome, Mr. Kennedy.
This beautiful farm, which is an organic farm in the middle of what people would call a blighted community.
The things that we're dealing with as Black people in our communities, this is a result of racism, redlining, all those different things that kept our communities at ill health. The food is sick that our community is getting, because it's coming from big ag.
African American communities are food deserts. You cannot get good food here. You look at what Black kids are eating. They're drinking big gulp Coca-Colas, and they're eating Twinkies and processed foods.
Mr. Kennedy's president, and what he's talking about is a perfect example about what we need to do ourselves. He's taking a personal commitment to fight. You got to fight for your land, you fight for your business, you fight for everything that's an interest to you.
We not only have to give people access to healthy food, but we need to just get rid of all the bad food. The chemical food, it's not food, it's just filler with poison in it. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States, and I approve this message.
Hold your horse. Happening, just scan this QR code and that will take you to the hearing impaired section so you can see everything typed out for you. The next guest is a personal hero of mine and really should be considered a hero in the world. When there was a small group of scientists, as I said before, basically lying about what would work, deciding to lock down our nation for the first time in history because of a virus. There was a group of people that went to the White House to talk to President Trump at that time, to bring a different perspective that was shared by thousands and thousands of health experts across the world. They wrote a document called the Great Barrington Declaration. A document that will stand the test of time and be heralded as the path the world should have taken. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce you to one of the authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, Jay Bhattacharya.
Never given a speech at a political rally, but my God. First, I want to thank Mr. Kennedy for the opportunity to speak today on this important day in American history. And I wanted to take the chance to make a case for the First Amendment and for free speech. I know that Bobby Kennedy has been the victim of an effort to censor his voice. And I have to say that I've been the victim of this same effort to censor free speech in this country. I am a scientific dissident. I've been a professor at the School of Medicine at Stanford for over 20 years. The Great Barrington Declaration, how many people signed it? God bless every one of you. It was a document I wrote with professors at Harvard and Oxford in October of 2020. The world was locked down. We had closed our schools. We had closed our businesses. We had closed our churches on the idea that it was necessary for our health. But I knew for a fact that that was a lie, that there were tens of thousands of doctors and scientists who said that we didn't need to lock down. We didn't need to close our schools. We didn't need to close our businesses. We didn't need to close our churches. We proposed instead better protecting vulnerable older people. We proposed not disrupting the lives of our children. Following similar ideas, the Swedish Public Health Authority protected human life much better than Americans. In fact, they have among the very best outcomes in protecting human life during the pandemic without lockdowns, without disrupting the lives of our children. Their kids suffered no learning loss at all during the pandemic. Their elderly were protected better, and their young people lived as close to a normal life as possible. Lockdown California, my kids didn't see the inside of a classroom for a year and a half. Florida opened its schools, and they have higher life expectancy and better outcomes, economic outcomes, psychological outcomes, and health outcomes than California did locked down. The sad thing I want to share with you is that the powers that be inside the federal government decided they did not like our declaration one bit. The head of the NIH wrote to Tony Fauci 4 days after he wrote it, calling for a devastating takedown of the declaration and of me. It was part of a broad federal effort to censor any critics. The way the government censored voices is by telling social media platforms who to censor and what ideas to censor. If you've had a post taken down by Facebook, if you've had a post taken down by Twitter during the pandemic, it's almost certain it's because the government actors, the Surgeon General's office, the CDC, the NIH, even the FBI, and the White House itself were telling social media companies to censor you. The good news is we now know what they're up to. We know how they did it and why they're doing it. And we can fight back. We have the Twitter files which told us what they were doing. We have court cases. A federal judge declared what they were doing an Orwellian ministry of truth. It's the kind of thing that should never happen in a country with the First Amendment, but it did. So, what's the punchline? Free speech is essential for our health. Free scientific... We need dissidents. We need dissident voices in public health because they're very often right. The government censored because it knew it was wrong. We need people like Bobby Kennedy and any other politician that wants to support free speech. We need those voices to restore the First Amendment in this country, because that is how we protect our health and how we protect our democracy. You know, I work in public health, and I don't believe that public health should be political. So I'm deeply uncomfortable. I want to say public health should be suitable equally for Democrats, for Republicans, for independents, everyone alike. It's something I think we can all as Americans get behind. And so I am glad to work with anybody who speaks for free speech at a time like now when they are in peril. And I'm delighted that Bobby Kennedy has lent his considerable voice to the cause. Thank you very much.
Well, that was such a great speech. And Cafecito Break did sign the Great Barrington Declaration back in those days.
I feel like the whole country needs to know what's going on here. It's bigger than alarming.
This is the worst I've ever seen it.
I witnessed this dystopian nightmare of this uncontrolled flow of desperate humanity crossing the border and converging here because of misbegotten policies by high leadership of the United States.
When President Biden took office, he signed some executive orders that basically halted all wall construction. It put our agents at risk, it put the migrants at risk, it incentivized the profit making for the smugglers.
At the end of the day, this is a business. Billions and billions of dollars every month are earned from transporting people across into the United States.
These kids are being exploited all along this track. There's nothing humane about any of this.
In this room, obviously, we designed it to be as comfortable as we can possibly make it, because the reality is no child should ever have to come to this exam room.
Mi señora y mi hija están conmigo, pero mi hija de 18 años, no sé dónde está.
We see a lot of violence as people are making across the border through Mexico or their countries. We see that devastation in the human lives.
What happens if a family doesn't have the money to buy the plane ticket?
Well, FEMA reimburses us. We can buy that ticket and
So you buy the ticket for them?
Yes.
They were told they could get a bite at the American dream here, and that dream becomes a nightmare along the journey.
Yuma, Arizona, Chris Clem.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Clem, and I retired as the Chief Patrol Agent of Yuma, Arizona on December 31st, 2022, after serving more than 27 years as a United States Border Patrol agent. I spent many years along the southern border. I have witnessed the good, the bad, and the ugly of what can happen with poor policies and lack of leadership out of Washington, D.C. Last year, I met Bobby when he came to Yuma. I spent time with him and his campaign. We discussed the realities of the border. Not only did he spend time with me, but as you saw in the video, he saw firsthand hundreds of people from around the world coming into the United States illegally at all hours of the day and night, tying up the hands of our agents while the cartels profited off human exploitation. He met with the mayor, the sheriff, the county commissioner, the hospital staff, nonprofit organizations, the food bank, the domestic violence shelter, the ranchers and the farmers, everyone who has been impacted by an out-of-control border. I was amazed that someone of his position, his stature, spent 3 days listening and learning, not just checking a box in a photo op. As we spoke, he asked great questions, but most importantly, he listened. And as we talked, I shared my vision of border security. And as a career law enforcement agent, it was important to me that he understood how necessary it was to secure our borders, how critical and how part of an integral part of our immigration system border security is. But oftentimes, border security and immigration get conflated, and that leads to further division and rhetoric. So I shared my vision of how the border should be, and that we should be a border made of tall fences and wide gates. The tall fences represented the border security system, the right infrastructure where it is needed, the technology to aid and assist our border security agents along the border and at the ports, personnel to conduct our very important security mission and backed by strong policies. But equally important were the wide gates. The wide gates are our legal and lawful pathways into the United States. Strong and effective policies to allow those to come legally, more efficiently, to enhance and strengthen our commerce, to allow trade and travel to flourish, clear up the enormous backlog for those who are following the rule of law, more efficient means so people can come in who want to add to our way of life. People shouldn't wait years or a lifetime to be able to come to our country for the right reasons. And if our current workforce cannot provide the means for businesses, big or small, we need a better way to recruit and attain foreign workers without bankrupting small business with over-regulated, antiquated systems. I believe Bobby sees this problem as an opportunity. He saw firsthand how important it was to secure our border. He saw the need to clean up the current immigration system. And I know, living along the border for many years, that a secure border is a safe and healthy border for both countries. That people should be able to come back and forth through the ports of entry to see family and friends and feel safe when doing so. And as someone who's been around the world like Bobby, he knows working together with Mexico will be key. Being a beacon of hope for all of those around the world is a tenet of our country. But so is the rule of law. So consequences are necessary for those that take advantage of our system and the people along the way. And no doubt, I believe he knows transparency and accountability of our government is important to regain the trust and credibility of the American people. As I said a moment ago, I met Bobby last year, and I've grown to know that he sees these challenges through a compassionate and common sense lens, which is so desperately needed today. Taking clear, kind, and common sense action by creating tall fences to protect our country from the human exploitation at the hands of the cartels, protecting our country, our companies, our communities, and our children, and building many wide gates to better serve our country's needs and the good people around the world. Helping all that seek a better life for them and their families is important. Our country cannot afford to go down the current border security and immigration path. There is strength and compassion, and there is intelligence and common sense, and I see all of this in Bobby. I'm grateful to know him, and we're all grateful to have him running for President of the United States. Thank you.
Everybody, I'm back, but I'm only here for a quick second, and it's just to introduce someone else who is so very important. We have a very important speaker coming up next. The name is Callie Means, and I love the last name because this guy means so much to us. He is actually the co-founder of TrueMed, and TrueMed is what we need in our lives to understand about the food and the pharma companies. He was a consultant for food and pharma companies earlier in his year, and now he is an advocate for changing the incentives for our sick care system, which profits from more Americans being sick. Guys, without further ado, Callie Means.
Working for the food and pharma industries early in my career, my job was to funnel money to institutions that Americans trust. We funneled money to civil rights groups. In return, the NAACP said it was imperative to keep Coca-Cola on food stamps. They actually said it was racist to take ultra-processed food and soda off of food stamps, and today soda is the #1 item purchased with that program. We funneled money to medical organizations. The American Diabetes Association, of all groups, took millions of dollars from Coca-Cola, and they said small cans of the drink was a good choice for diabetics. The American Academy of Pediatrics, 80% of their funding comes from the pharmaceutical industry. We funneled money to researchers. I was shocked as a junior employee to be communing with top professors at Harvard and Tufts Nutrition School. I found that 11 times more funding comes from the food industry for nutrition research than the NIH. I found out that more than 50% of the Harvard Med School budget touches pharma in some way. We funneled money to the media. Pharma funds over 50% of all TV news funding, and I realized that wasn't to influence consumers, that was to influence the news itself. That's why during COVID, which was essentially a foodborne illness, this was really a condition that did not kill metabolically healthy people. There was no curiosity, no reporting on that. Of course, it was just a pharmaceutical solution that was talked about. We funded politicians. The healthcare industry funds politicians with direct donations 5x more than the oil industry, 3x more than any other industry. And we funded the regulatory agencies. The FDA itself, 75% of their funding comes not from taxpayers, but pharmaceutical companies. And I can tell you from being in DC, bureaucracies are built to grow. Our system is rigged, and the disastrous ramifications are plain to see. 9 of the 10 killers of Americans are tied to preventable chronic conditions tied to food. 90% of healthcare costs are tied to these preventable conditions tied to food. The statistics are unfathomable. 50% of young adults are overweight or obese. 33% of young adults have prediabetes. 25% of young adults have fatty liver disease. This is a moral stain on our country. The childhood obesity rate in Japan is 4%. We're committing genocide against our children. Why is the healthcare system letting this happen? There's one simple reason. Every single institution that impacts your health is incentivized for you to be sick and incentivized against you being healthy. That includes medical schools, insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, and hospitals. An unemotional statement of economic fact is that there has been no more profitable invention in the history of America than a sick child, than a child with chronic disease. They suffer and rack up more comorbidities and more interventions, but they don't die. They just suffer. Today, statins, metformin, antidepressants, Adderall, they're prescribed like candy in high schools. And the American Academy of Pediatrics recently put out a press release saying it's an urgent national priority to prescribe Ozempic to 50% of 12-year-olds. This is a lifetime drug. This is a story of optimism. The American people want to be healthy. They want their kids to be healthy. They want to thrive. The incentives are stacked against us. They've been stacked against us quickly, and they can change